This is an investigation that really goes straight to the point of whether or not impeachment is a proper remedy.
So this Congress is taking the bait. It is going to impeach Koskinen instead of Obama. Yes, Koskinen lied to Congress and allowed important evidence to be destroyed. However, the guy wasn't even at the IRS when the scandal unfolded. He's just an Obama lackey. He's taking the fall for Obama. So the ineffectiveness of Congress and this power-hungry president are making the case for tighter controls on Washington, D.C. In other words, the system is broken down, and we, the people, must fix it through an Article 5 Convention of the States to amend the Constitution. Joining me now from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, State Director for an Article 5 Convention of the States, Dale Clary. Dale, Cajun country, common sense people, really. I was, at one point in my life, married to a woman from Metairie, Louisiana, and I know a lot of things about Louisiana now, but especially the kind of common sense people. So Article 5 seems like a good fit.
Graham, we're very excited. We're on the threshold of actually passing the Convention of States resolution here in Louisiana. We will know Wednesday afternoon when it goes before the House.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. It has passed the Senate?
Yes, it went through the Senate committee on a 6-to-1 vote, a bipartisan vote. It just knocked it out of the ballpark in the Senate on the floor, a vote of 29-6. It went through the House committee last week, and it'll be on the floor of the House this week.
So virtually no pockets of resistance there in the Senate?
No, of course there are. There always are some resistance. Some people raise questions about various things. Some raise questions about the Second Amendment. Some raise questions about, can it be a runaway convention? And our response is, we're more worried about a runaway Congress than we are a runaway convention.
We've already got a runaway federal government. So in the House, it's out of committee and then goes to the full House. When is it?
This Wednesday afternoon. We believe they start at 1 o'clock. It may move around a little bit. We'll be there. We'll be cheering on the representatives. We've got a great bunch of representatives and senators here in Louisiana who get it, they understand it, and they're going for it.
Do you, a representative by the name of Garofalo, am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yes, you are. Ray Garofalo has been a champion for here in Louisiana for the Convention of States. He's been on this for at least 2 years and maybe even longer than that.
What about the flies in the ointment? Do you see any problems in the House from opposition?
You don't want to be overly optimistic, but the resistance has not really been there that we expected and got last year. And we received a good bit of resistance last year, and it's just not been there this year. We've had some people arguing, oh, the Second Amendment rights might be impaired. That's not the truth. And I think the more we explain these kinds of things, the more people get it. So we're pretty optimistic.
Okay, for an Article 5 to review, 34 states are needed to participate. At this point, 7 have committed. Louisiana would be number 8, but let's stick with the 7 so far. So obviously need 27 more. Do you think that is doable within the calendar year 2016, or do you think we're going to have to spill into 2017?
It'll spill at least into 2017, and frankly, maybe even a year beyond that. But if you look at what's just going on, for example, in the presidential elections, you see the animosity to Washington, D.C., and that's on both sides of the aisle. That's both Republican and Democrat. We think that as the Supreme Court and Congress and the president do more and more and more, that people begin to understand, even non-lawyers understand, wait, these guys are running away with our country. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
And the states that are agreeing at this point to participate in an Article 5 Convention of the States, majority is southern states, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and you all might be next. What is it about the South that gets what the framers of the Constitution put in for us to use in an emergency situation like we have now?
Alaska has also approved it,
right.
So it's not totally the southern states, but it is predominantly the southern states. And I think folks are just looking at the Constitution itself and actually reading it and saying, wait a minute, the words say this, the Supreme Court and Congress say that. I'm going to follow the words on the Constitution rather than what I'm seeing going on in Washington, D.C. But I think what's killing most folks is the debt bomb that's about to explode on us, as Tom Coburn explained in a book of his a few years ago.
And that would be possibly one of the amendments to be proffered, which would be a balanced budget amendment, but also term limits. Is that popular as well? Also, term limits that would be for Congress and for the United States Supreme Court. And speaking of the Supreme Court, also would be a mechanism put in place where states possibly could override decisions by a rogue Supreme Court.
Those are just some of the possible amendments that could be proposed by this convention. Remember, it's just a study group. It doesn't have any authority to amend the Constitution, but those are certainly some of them. Whether the balanced budget or fiscal limitations is very popular here in Louisiana. Term limits is very popular in Louisiana, even though most folks haven't even considered the possibility of doing that on the court.
Okay, so it's not a done deal yet in Louisiana, but looking real good. Do you recommend folks down in Bayou Country to call the representatives right now since the vote is coming up?
Absolutely. It's on the website, Louisiana Legislature. Click on the House. You can find all of their names and their phone numbers and their email addresses and contact them today and tomorrow.
All right. Well, you know, we have a presidential election. It's very important. But if you look at what we're trying to do through an Article 5, a convention of the states, and the Constitution, it's probably more important than a president. Presidents come and go. But the Constitution, it's at least designed to stick. Dale, thanks.
Imagine the opportunity to get back to that balance.
So that you don't have faceless bureaucrats destroying farms, destroying industry with no accountability.
We're the only ones who can do this. Congress is not going to do it.
This will be the biggest thing that's happened in the last century.
This is too great a moment. Be leaders among leaders.